change your mind, if you change your mind.
For the longest time, I've always seen Change Your Mind as the most polarizing finale in any other cartoon. Even though I haven't watched Danny Phantom's finale, Star vs. the Forces of Evil's finale, among the other finales that really damages their reputation, the way I see it when it comes to Change Your Mind, I still look into the reasonings on why they make these decisions, like I've always do in every other episode from this marathon. With everything that culminates in this finale that really divided the fanbase to the point that there's no going back for how everything is structured, to tell you the truth, I really feel like that for how I understand people would feel towards this finale, for me personally, that doesn't ruin my enjoyment of Change Your Mind. Unlike my experiences when I first compared this to Future's finale. My reasonings of me comparing this to Future's finale is because I was so into Steven Universe that comparing two finales involving the finale of the series and the epilogue's finale is a good idea that really felt too good to be true. And it was around the time where I wasn't into the Loud House and I was getting into cartoons that I never witnessed for the first time. Hence, onto why that this revisit exists in the first place, along with the revisits of the final 4 episodes of Future's finale later this month. So watching this finale on its own, it's honestly one of my favorite finales. Even though that Future's finale may be better once I watch those episodes, but as far as I'm concerned, I really feel like that this finale was really at a time where Steven Universe fans really wanted more from this show, and I don't blame them, but even though I wanted a more better finale than this when it comes to having more time to flesh out the diamonds, they still did what they could to make this really memorable. I'm gonna be really honest that when I witnessed the problems that I discussed in the past and thought about it more when it comes to the diamonds development, even though that they should be fleshed out more if this show had a 6th season, I'm starting to understand the whole talk it out meaning that Steven had been doing numerous of times. Like, I understand that for how the structure of the diamonds are since the very beginning of how they're genocidals, and it's difficult to find them redeemable, but to tell you the truth, despite everything that they did, including White Diamond, I'm beginning to see their emotions for how they wanted a perfect empire, but unfortunately it's not working out for them. And the fact that White Diamond is the only character who pictures a perfect empire and world and having no flaws whatsoever, I'm really thinking of how the diamonds were really mostly misguided at some points, despite the fact that they could have had more exploring when it comes to fleshing out if this show had another season. But when it came to the fight between Yellow and Blue Diamond, it's rushed, I'll admit it, but I can totally see the emotions of the two characters for how they were developed. Like, I know that I complain a lot for how the other episodes were rushed, but for how they're all structured, and when it comes to this point where I witness these two characters facing the facts that they can't have a perfect empire or world, I can feel sympathy with their emotions. As far as I'm concerned, they really made me understand onto how they're feeling the way they are, especially since that the other episodes centering around them, even if we had little to see of them, I really feel like that they were really in the wrong this whole time, and yet they're dealing with so many struggles that they just wanted to focus on a perfect future, but at the end of the day, it's never going to make them happy. For me, the whole talking it out when it comes to Steven's way of fixing the solution, I'm gonna be real with you, just because other shows that take themselves seriously, like the finale of Infinity Train from Season 3, did something that Steven Universe couldn't, that doesn't automatically mean that I don't like anything of what Change Your Mind did. Like, I can understand that that Infinity Train's third finale is superior and it had guts, but at the same time, I don't view cartoons as enemies against each other. Yes, I did compare Lautaro and Casagrande episodes multiple times, and I see the value in the good while seeing the negativity in the bad. And I've done that with other shows in the past when they have terrible episodes or the opposite, but the thing is, when it comes to Steven Universe, I don't view that type of material involving this show, because the passion in this show is everywhere. Even if it's not 100% perfect, I can't deny that this show at least tries to make the best out of it when it comes to Change Your Mind. Now, when it comes to the fusions of Steven and Paul, when it comes to Rainbow Quartz 2.0, along with Sunstone, that was a fusion of Steven and Garnet, we all wanted at least a few or a couple of episodes centering around the fusion, similar to Smoky Quartz. And while the Rush production shows, I really feel like that they did what they could in order to have a great impression, because Smoky Quartz had a great impression towards the end of Season 3, and they did the best by having a great impression involving Sunstone and Rainbow Quartz 2.0. As for the fusion of Steven, Amethyst, Paul, Garnet into Obsidian, I have to be honest that if we had an episode centering around the four, it would have been more impactful. And while I did like how this was executed, you could probably think that it would have been much more better if it was done in a separate episode, that you would probably see the impact involving Obsidian, because this is the only time where we ever get to see Obsidian, and never again in future. Sure, she does in future, but only in Steven's dream. So it's really disappointing that this is the only time we get to see her. But it's actually done better since that they need to get inside of White Diamond's head. And as we get into the White Diamond portion of this finale, I really feel like that this had changed so much ever since it aired in early 2019. Looking into White Diamond's character, she is the worst when it comes to how she's portrayed, and everything that she did in the universe when it came to her destroying gems and lives. I really feel like that this is the type of character that you shouldn't forgive, and the fact that Steven is willing to semi-forgive her by making her fix the mistakes that she caused, which aren't really mistakes, but at the same time, just proving that she has changed. This title sums up everything onto why I'm not really against White Diamond like I used to, especially Steven becoming allies with her, or the other way around. We all remembered what happened in this finale. White Diamond pulled Steven's gem out of him. I really feel like that every time I witness Steven's character in this finale and how he has to handle all the responsibilities of Pink Diamond, it was a difficult task for him to do all of it. And to tell you the truth, for how he's portrayed and how he manages to get a win against White Diamond after seeing a pink Steven formed after White Diamond pulled the gem out of Steven. I looked into it to how this pink Steven really has the mind of Steven and no longer of Pink Diamond nor Wars Quartz. It will never happen, and I do mean never happen, that White Diamond would ever change her mind, because there was no alternative. Steven can't be able to talk to her correctly like he did with the other characters, because White Diamond can only see perfection in her own vision. And for how Steven tried to talk sense into her, he can't be able to do anything about it, correctly or not correctly. I really think about White Diamond's character the more I witness the elements of Change Your Mind that I haven't years ago. And even though that it could have been much more better if it had better fleshing out in another season, I really feel like that they managed to at least showcase White Diamond's character, even if this is the only time we get to see her when it comes to her taking center stage. In Legs from Here to Homeworld, we only get to see her once. And for how she's portrayed, it's difficult for her to be in a state of mind that the other diamonds are really powerless to fix. And after Steven gets his gem back that was animated by James Baxter, White Diamond lashes out by accusing Pink acting like a child, to which Steven retorted, "I am a child, what's your excuse?" And after witnessing the emotions from Blue and Yellow Diamond, this is the first time that White Diamond blushed. And I took time to understand the meaning of this scene, and it finally came in full circle of how the first emotion that White Diamond ever felt is blushing, other than being perfection and seeing perfection in her surroundings. I've always feel that people had a reason to be upset for how this finale is structured, but for someone who actually sit through the episodes, not all of them, but understanding the true meaning of those episodes, up until reaching to this episode, which is the finale of the series, aside from the epilogue, it made me understand until what they were doing when it comes to Steven willing to be allies with White Diamond, despite what White Diamond did to so many people and so many crises around the universe. Just because Infinity Train Season 3 did this much more better by not having a villain to be redeemed, doesn't mean that I do not like the decision that they make. After thinking about it, and witnessing of how these characters were developed despite the rush production of this season, I really feel like that they did what they could in order to make sure that this finale didn't cause a huge downfall for me, but the downfall nearly comes when it comes to how the potential that was been drifted away due to the problems that the people have been going through when it comes to making this season, since that the luck of Steven Universe had basically ran out, aside from the movie and the epilogue. If you think that I'm being a little flip-floppy with you, I'm actually witnessing this finale in full detail and paying attention to it a lot more. And even though it's not what you think that I'm looking into it like other people do, to tell you the truth, guys, just because a finale like this is this despised and still controversial to this day, it doesn't automatically mean that everyone is going to view it as one of the worst finales. I really felt like that the more I looked into it, and my own perspective back in 2021 was so outdated that it made me feel regrets. I had to revisit this the moment I began making my reviews of it of the fall season last year. So if you really think of how I've come this far to witness of how this finale gave me a different perspective of it after watching the episodes again, then that's really saying something of how this show changed for me. And even though that not every single element of it I approve, that doesn't ruin my enjoyment of Steven Universe. Obviously, when it comes to the reunited scene of Lars and Sadie, it could have been more better, to the point that for how long the fans had to wait when it came to almost 2 years, yeah, I can really feel the depression and stress that the fans went through, knowing full well that Lars went into outer space in 2017, and in the beginning of 2019, all we had was this. The only good thing is that the future episodes somewhat make up for it in some of the capacity, but I'm pretty sure that newcomers would probably have the same emotions, except that they wouldn't wait for almost 2 years for this. I will say that We Are the Crystal Gems, which is the Change Your Mind version, it's a great song for how it's wrapping up finally. Like, I will admit that when the diamonds and the crystal gems are trying to fix the corrupted gems back to their original state, it's honestly wholesome, and I really appreciate the effort that they did in order to make the final minutes of this worthwhile. Every time I look at this ending itself, it really feels more satisfying when it comes to how it gives me chills, similar to the escapism song that I talked about yesterday. And when it concluded with Steven singing Change Your Mind with Garnet, Pearl, and Amethyst, there was a reason onto why I included this song, despite being sung by a man, as part of my intro of Season 5, because it was really satisfying and how it's structured. Even if Steven didn't sing the whole song and only sung the bits of it, you can't deny that the song itself really capped off everything when it came to the 5 seasons of the show. I looked into the good in this because despite being rushed, they managed to do a lot for the sake of making this finale the best it can be, despite not being better than what it could have been. That's what really made me feel of how Change Your Mind has changed over time, to the point that even if I might prefer Future's finale once I get to them, I can't deny that everything of what this finale accomplished made me see the true meaning of it all. I knew that this revisit was going to be a long review, similar to my past review of this while comparing it to Future's finale, but it's the better choice. Back then, I looked into the criticisms way too much, and when it comes to people coming forward for what they feel after the backlash and criticisms towards these materials have died down, it made me see the true meaning of Change Your Mind, which has honestly made me more thankful to see more positivity involving Steven Universe than seeing negativity. Even though that I'm not gonna be able to change everyone else's mind in the real world like what Steven did to White Diamond, but after reaching this finale after 100 episodes, this finale changed my mind, but not in the way of what people think. mainly the people critiquing this show even to this day. But at this point, I've been rambling on about this finale, and it's time to wrap things up. I'm giving this finale an 8.5 out of 10, and that wraps up Season 5. I am gonna put my review of Steven Universe the movie in my outro that I reviewed 3 years ago, and all that's left is Steven Universe Future with only 2 full weeks left to wrap up this marathon. We're almost to the end.